Welcome to the Wood and Work podcast. We are your hosts, Josh from Josh Taylor Woodworking and Paul from JCR Builds.
Hello.
Today we have a very special guest, Peachtree Crafting from England. Whereabouts are you from England, Mark?
Lancashire.
Lancashire, okay.
Lancashire area, yeah, Preston.
Oh, nice.
Are you Preston, are you? I was just saying, Josh, I even thought about it, that you must be local, because obviously I saw you at the Wigan Day a few months ago. I never even put two and two together that you were within my local area, almost, if you like. But,
are you Yorkshire-ish?
No, I'm Liverpool.
Oh, Liverpool. Oh, yeah, of course you are. I know that.
Yeah. So,
I'll send you something. I wrote the address out.
So, can you just tell everyone, Mark, a bit about your company, Peachtree Crafting, and what it is you do in the woodworking sector?
Yeah, okay. Calling it a company is a big reach. It's more of a hobby than a company.
Well, yeah.
Which I started probably during COVID, like most people, although I was making for some time before that. So I need to clarify, because I've seen a lot of the people you get on here are professionals or are builders or joiners. I'm not that. I'm a hobbyist that's really got into it. So I just need to clarify. I'm not a professional in any way.
It doesn't make any difference, mate. At the end of the day,
no.
It's all about enjoying what you build and enjoying yourself and what you do, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what it is all about for me. I'm not in it to make money. I'm never going to make money from it. I'm in it because I enjoy making stuff and working out the process. So I started off when I inherited a load of tools from one of my granddads. He passed away. He had all these tools, and I thought, I'm not getting rid of these. I need to use these. These are like chisels and hammers and planes, all that sort of stuff. So I just wanted to learn how to use it all, and that's how it all started, really. And then I worked in hospitality, and I quite liked a rusticy type. I was running a cafe at the time, and I wanted rusticy type tables and a coffee stand and all that sort of stuff. And to buy it cost a bomb. So I figured out, I can do this myself. It's easy, this. Not as easy as I thought, but I was able to build myself a couple of tables, coffee stand, and then it just sort of progressed from there, pretty much.
It's interesting that, because when we were speaking to John from Wicks last week, he pretty much got into the same way. It was actually, I think he was saying it was his wife's father or wife's uncle who passed, and that's how he got the first few tools, and you've sort of got into. I mean, I've got some of my great grandfather's hand tools that I still use every now and again. Yeah. But yeah, it's sort of interesting how a lot of people do get into it just by accident almost, and they pick it up. But so obviously that sort of thing. So what led you into? Because you're quite well known for your capabilities with a Dremel multi-tool.
Yeah.
Not multi-tool, more the rotary tool. Sorry.
Yeah.
And you're quite well known within the area for that. So what got you into the Dremel sort of rotary tool type craft work?
I got one as a Christmas present or a birthday present. I can't remember which. And I just started using it basically. And I just found that there were so many different uses for it. I was using it in pretty much every single project I was making or whatever. So I just continued to build up my knowledge of it. And then I sort of realized out there that there wasn't a lot of information on how to use them, or there was, but you have to watch a whole 10-minute video to find out 30 seconds worth of information that you have to need. And I hate that. I hate watching a load of bump and then you get the information you need. So I then started making little tips videos myself. And back at the time when you were making reels, you could only do 15 seconds. So it was trying to get a tip or a piece of information into 15 seconds, which is quite difficult when it's a little bit long, but it was really enjoyable to do. And that's where I got most of my following from, because I did quite a few controversial tips, which do tend to get more views than the other tips.
Yeah.
So and abuse.
Yeah.
The amount of abuse I got, but it's great because the more abuse you get, the more views it gets. It's and I don't think the trolls realise that.
Yeah, it's just more engagement. That's like
it's
one thing. Yeah.
It's funny. They're my best reels, the ones that get the most abuse.
Yeah, because I did notice it recently, because I bought a non-branded rotary tool, should we say, and I noticed the bits were absolute shite because they're all made of Chinese plasticine, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's where obviously I messaged you and you very kindly sent me some beautiful Dremel bits. I mean, the Dremel bits are superb quality; they really are. I can see the night and day difference with it. But we all know
They cost
that.
more. They cost
Oh yeah,
more.
absolutely. But the
Yeah,
problem is,
unfortunately.
we all know that decent. You can't buy
Yeah.
a cheap sharp blade. It just doesn't, or it doesn't stay sharp for very long. But the Dremels are
No.
really, really good. But one thing I did notice, because it's not something I've ever used before. I mean, I've been into this 20 odd years, 25 years now. And I've never ever used a rotary tool until recently. This monster project that I've started, and as you said, there's not a lot of information out there, and that's where I actually ended up watching. I think every single one that you did in an afternoon, because there's not a lot there, is there? For
no, it's
actual information. Without, I mean, there was some there from 20-year-old Dremel tools, and you're like, yeah, I'm not sure that's even relevant, half that information anymore.
Yeah. It was so hard to find information. Like even when you first get a Dremel or a rotary tool, even changing the bit, if you've never done it before, reading the instructions and trying to work out how to do it, it's not self-explanatory if you're not well versed in using tools. So even something as simple as that, and I still get questions now, how do I change a bit, even though it's the simplest part of using a Dremel or a rotary tool. So that's what I'm all about now. It's about teaching people what I've learned and passing it on, making it easier to get the information.
So is there one size Dremel? Do they do bigger, powerful ones?
Yeah, there's tiny ones. There's like little cordless ones with like the Dremel. If I was in my workshop, I could literally just reach you on and show you. But yeah, they do corded, cordless. It's the range has expanded as they've realised people need different things.
What's your go-to?
I've got a cordless, the latest cordless, which is 8260, which is just as powerful as a corded. Battery lasts forever. It's wireless, which a lot of people don't use that, but you can connect it to your phone. You can see how much charge you got left. You can see when it's overheating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was obvious when it was overheating, though, because basically, if there's a shitload of smoke coming out of it and fire,
there is
it's
that
generally
as well.
a little bit too hot. Do you know what I mean?
I actually broke it the other week.
Oh no!
I'm waiting for a new one.
If I'm going to buy one, you recommend going for the battery wireless?
It depends where you're using it. If you're using it statically, only in your workshop, you're better off going for a wired one because there is that little bit more power. You haven't got to worry about charging your battery. But if you want to use it anywhere, you want to take it up to your loft, you want to take it to your car, then you don't want to worry about having a cable. And the wireless one the cordless one will be fantastic.
I think
I'm not trying to be a salesperson for Dremel here, by the way.
Yeah.
No, so I'm going to buy one because I've always wanted one because it's kind of that niche tool that you need on every job, and there's always that tiny little bit you can't get to.
You see, what I found it really interesting recently because because I've used it for this. I bought it for a particular project, but I'm starting to see value in the tool as things going out to other projects using other things.
Yeah.
And I noticed is it Alton Art, Metal Art? He uses one an awful lot on his metal. What they call
Daryl? Yeah, I know what you mean.
I can't think what you call these pieces. He makes like little sculptures, I suppose, out of forks and knives and spoons.
So he's a welder, isn't he? And he makes like owls out of bolts. He makes. I've got a couple of pieces here. One that I won, a few that I've brought. And he does some fantastic work, mostly cutlery. So he's got like a pile of cutlery, and he turns spoons and forks into birds and penguins and all sorts.
Oh yeah, I came across this page. Very, very impressive.
Yeah.
I think I came across it. I think it's because of something I got a notification you commented on something, and I think it was that made me pick up on his page.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I spoke to him on a few posts as well, and he said like, definitely, Josh, you want to get the decent bits. Maybe if you didn't buy a Dremel rotary tool, I'd definitely say get the Dremel bits themselves. But I've noticed, obviously, because you've done quite a few cool little projects that I've noticed also, like you were saying about the cordless, that you had like a little flush trim bit almost on it, and you went in and you cut out an access hole in your kitchen unit.
Yeah.
When you were trying to do something the other, and it just showed you, because obviously that's where you won't want a corded version of something because they just get in the way, don't they? The cords on those.
I got a lot of hate for that.
Did you?
By the way, yeah.
It's probably because it wasn't straight. Yeah, it wasn't straight.
Yeah, but I was trying to explain to people. I was laid down on my belly with my arms extended like that, or a hand extended as far as it will go to try and get in. And anybody with anything trying to do that with a 30-centimeter gap, you know what L-shaped corner units are like. It was our work.
You can't get into them. I mean, it's like if you're trying to work under a kitchen sink in the unit. There's no room, is there? Full stop.
No.
There's never any room.
And I hope the joiner that fitted my father-in-law's kitchen isn't watching this, but why he made those bloody access things too small to be able to anybody to actually get any access to, I have no idea. It's like the tiniest little hole for me to be able to get my hand in to turn a tap off.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But to me, that's where, see, if I'm doing that and I'm doing that kitchen, I remove the stopcock, I put the unit in, I put a new stopcock within the kitchen unit so you can reach it without having all the nasty pipe. Because the problem is, if you cut a big hole, it looks shit when you give a newly fitted kit. But I know what you mean. You need the access. Yeah. But you've also made, I've got, excuse me, I just scoffed for breakfast just before this, and the breakfast is repeating on me a little bit, unfortunately. Because I've noticed a few things, because like you've made some cool little petrol, diesel jerry can displays where you're actually cutting with.
I'm looking at that now. It's phenomenal, that thing.
Yeah, so you obviously using the cutting disc, aren't you?
Then you sell them? Disc. Can I have one? I'll buy one of you. You could probably sell that. You'd make a lot of money selling that.
I'm rubbish at selling stuff though, because I know how much to charge for stuff. I'd rather do something for free than charge someone. Weird.
Go 500 quid easy.
500, you reckon?
Yeah.
People won't pay it. That's the only problem, because it's a very niche market for the sort of people that would pay that. That's the whole thing, isn't it? How much is a piece worth? And you know yourselves, the amount of time and effort we put into things isn't always. You're not going to get that back.
Did that one take you?
That was my first one I ever did, and it took the longest because I had to work out how I was going to do it. So again, I watched YouTube videos on how to do it, but they were using like angle grinders and stuff like that to cut it open. But because I'd just not long started my thing with Dremel, so I wanted a cool project to start with, I had to work out how to do it with the Dremel. And it actually turns out it's probably easier to do it with the Dremel than it is an angle grinder. Weird. I might be wrong. It wasn't that difficult. The most difficult bit was getting the wooden part in there, and because it was lockdown, I had little access to buying wood because nowhere was open, so I had to just do it from
scrap. Looking around your house.
Just scrap wood.
Why have you already got 3 dining room table chairs?
Why is this dining room table only got 2 legs?
Yeah. Because I've noticed as well that obviously, because I know a lot of people do for carving, like they do carvings with some of the smaller bits, and I noticed, which I thought was pretty interesting, on one of your posts in the last couple of days, you were doing a piece on glass.
Yeah, so you wear a Maker's Central. So I was doing glass etching workshops along with some colleagues for Dremel there, and slate etching and a few other bits. And I hadn't done it all that much, but whilst I was there, I started that piece I was working on, and I'm just doing it bit by bit. So it's just the versatility of the tools.
So how do you do that though? So if obviously you've got a drawing, do you put the drawing underneath the piece of glass? So you've almost got like not a transfer, but so you can see where you need to. Yeah,
there's 2 ways to do it. So the way I'm doing it is with the drawing underneath, it's stuck underneath, and I just tracing, basically it's tracing. Or you can put the drawing underneath, and then you can use a Sharpie or something to draw it out on top of the glass, because you've got the thickness of the glass to think about when you're doing it as well. So there's a bit of, if you look at it from a different angle than you were before, because of the thickness of the glass, you might not get the stroke totally correct. So I would have been better off drawing it on first, because then you're just going over your
I see what you mean, because obviously if you've got thickness of the glass and you're looking at an angle, the mirror, it's almost like a mirror image or perception changes, doesn't it, from the
there's a word for it, I can't remember what it is.
Refraction.
Refraction, that was it. So
does that not leave a sort of a sharp surface on the piece. So if you're effectively scratching the glass, aren't you? I suppose. For more of a rough term. But is that not then going to leave burrs and sharpness on the actual glass surface?
I'm using a diamond ball bit, so it basically polishes it as it's putting it out as well.
So you could quite happily run your hand across it, and it wouldn't.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a flat piece you're doing for like a pane. Can you do that on glasses and stuff like that?
Yeah, so you can do it with glasses. So you could, again, with a pint glass or something like that, you could prop your drawing inside and stick it in place, and then just go over the top with it.
But can you use normal? Because obviously, I mean, I'm just showing my absolute naivety here. Because the thing is, like with a lot of other glass stuff, like I know, like say toughened glass, you can't cut because if you try and cut it, it'll smash. So obviously, pint pots per se aren't toughened because if you drop it, they go in big chunks.
Yeah.
So you could actually 90% of your glasses in your cupboard, you could hypothetically use the Dremel to.
As far as I'm aware,
with the correct bit, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know about like the other glass you were talking about, but any glass, if it's glass, because it's diamond, it's a diamond edge bit, it should do it on any glass. I'm going to have to test this now.
I think toughened, because the thing is with toughened, so
pint glasses are toughened.
Yeah, I don't think they are toughened, are they? Or are they?
I beg to differ because I used to work in hospitality. I used to be a pub manager.
So they will be toughened. Yeah, they'll have to be toughened.
Yeah,
because the non-toughened ones are the very dainty ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
I thought toughened glass would just have plastic in the middle, like plastic sheet.
No.
No?
Because I remember years ago.
Or is that double glazed?
That's so. Because I remember years ago, I measured a bit of glass for a window, and it had it was meant to have a hole in for an extractor fan. So I sent it off the sizes, and I forgot to tell the manufacturer that it needed a 5-inch hole in it. It was my fault. I mean, we're talking 20 years ago here. And so it came, oh shit, I can't. So I obviously sent it back to them, said, oh, it needs a hole in it, mate, put a hole in it for us. And they went, we can't, it's toughened. So you can't cut toughened. So obviously glass, it's a piece of glass, that it goes through another process to make it toughened.
Right.
And once you do that process, you can't then cut it.
That was 20 years ago.
Yeah, but toughened's still the same. It's still the same. That's just how I learnt by making a mistake. But obviously, so I'm just wondering if you can actually engrave toughened glass because you're not trying to cut it. Yeah.
Content idea. Thank you.
There you go. So mine's actually on the bench here. So let's see if we can beat you to it.
Have you gone for a Dremel, Paul? Or
no, I got a non-branded one, just because I didn't know to do the job for my project that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I've never had one before, so I thought, well, I'm not spending 80 odd quid on a Dremel that I'm more than likely not going to use. But with the decent bits that Mark sent me, and I'm using this tool, I can see the added value. So when this one does burn out, which it probably will do because it's a non-branded, it was about 30 quid, 25, 30 quid. I will get a Dremel to replace it with, because I do see the point in good tools if it's something you'll be using a lot of. I mean, this has been attached to my workbench for about 2 weeks now because I'm using it for other bits because I wonder if I can use that, because I'm just I'm not trying to push the boundaries with it. I'm trying to find out what I can use it for, because it's not something I know about. And just by having something, I'll see if I can do this with it. Okay, it's no good for that. Let's stick, because unless you try these things, and sometimes you've got to find out yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
How much does it set you back, a Dremel? What's it cost?
You're looking at 100 and odd quid, I think, for a basic one. I don't. I
think they were about. I think when I looked, they were about 80 quid for a basic, but that didn't include like the flexi shaft or anything else.
You want to get the full kit with it, right? What's the full kit? 200 or something.
Yeah, you're looking at about 280, I think. Let's have a look. I'll have a look whilst we're talking.
But the thing is, like, I noticed as well, because I hadn't realised at the time when I got it, because mine came with a flexi shaft.
What's a flexi shaft?
So basically,
what do you think?
A rotary tool is just like I don't know, it's just a big electrical screwdriver almost with a bit in the ends. So then what you do is you put a shaft onto the end, and you have mine's about 60 or centimeters long.
Yeah.
I'll just show it on screen for the ones that are watching. So now I have a handheld bit, and the bit goes on the end here, or in the ends. So you're using like a pen.
Yeah, it's easy to hold for.
Yeah, because otherwise you're holding this big thing like this, and you don't have the same amount of control because
do you
the
use
weight.
that as well, Mark? A lot?
Yeah, it depends on what I'm using it for. So if I'm cutting open a jerry can, I wouldn't use the flexi shaft because you need the control and you need the weight of the tool as well to help you. Whereas if you're doing something like glass engraving or the sanding they're doing on your model and all those bits and bobs, and if you're spending a lot of time doing something, you need something lighter in your hand. Otherwise, you're just going to wear your hand out.
Yeah, because I've noticed Richard Wyatt. I don't know either you follow him on Instagram. I've known Richard I've spoken to him on Instagram now for a couple of years now, and he makes lovely wooden coffee spoons and other kitchen spoons and stuff like that, all wood. He's in the States. I bought one from him, and he actually uses a rotary tool on a flexi shaft, and he has like I think it's a cut saw bit he uses. It's like a pine cone shaped one maybe, and that's how he gets the hollow in the spoon, by using the rotary tool.
To do that,
yeah. But I've just noticed more and more people now. I think now it's because I've got one, not a Dremel, but I've got a rotary tool. I'm seeing a lot more people. I never noticed that Richard ever used the rotary tool. I thought he just carved it out using a gouge chisel.
A spoon.
I'm getting the feeling Dremel has kind of cornered the market with their name, right? Like Hoover.
Yeah, pretty much. I think so. Anyway,
everyone says you always hear Dremel. No, never. Someone says rotary tool, I think of a router. Not. I wouldn't think of a Dremel.
Well, Dremel's is a brand name, obviously, but that's where people will say Dremel. I'll use my Dremel for doing that, and people will have a non-branded tool like mine, and they'll still refer to it as a Dremel, don't they? Because people know. People know it's a Dremel. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. I mean, Dremel have been around for a long time, haven't they not? 32. There you go.
Really?
It was a proper long-standing. So isn't Dremel part of the Bosch group, or am I getting that wrong?
It's very complicated. I don't quite understand it. So Dremel's American-owned, but it's made by Bosch in Germany, if that makes sense, or the same company that makes Bosch. It's something like that. I don't fully understand it, but it's also something to do with Holland. There's something in Holland there as well. So yeah, it must be lots of different companies together.
Yeah, because I mean, I thought it was like a Bosch thing because of basically the engineering of the motors and stuff like that. Because Bosch are known as certainly one of the forefronts of tool manufacturing, aren't they? Or the quality. Because there's a lot of other companies that use Bosch parts, or parts are made in the same factory for other brands. Like there might be the odd Festool that's built in there, and there's the odd Milwaukee that's built in there because it's the factory. Well, Germans are renowned for their engineering, aren't they? At the end of the day,
they are. Yeah, definitely.
They are.
I think they've got a lot to do with Metabo as well. I think they own them.
There's lots of big companies, don't they? They have like not shadow companies. That's the wrong term to use, but other companies that they sell the same things rebranded but cheaper or more expensive.
Yeah, I think we touched on that last week. I'm getting things crop up. I've had a few messages on social media as well here and there when I'm using a shit tool, and they're like, "Well, Milwaukee makes that anyway, you idiot," or something. You know, what was it? The AEG.
Well, AEG's also Rigid, Evolution, Arauba.
Yeah,
there's a few of them.
Someone messaged me, "That's glorified Milwaukee, mate. Throw it in the bin." I was like, "Oh, for God's sake!" Here we go, another one.
Yeah, another tool. To me, it doesn't matter. I mean,
I'm going to waste my money. Just throw it in the bin. Go and buy a new one.
It's the old thing. But you also do a lot with shadow foam, don't you?
Yeah. So I first saw shadow foam at Maker Central as well a few years ago, and they had like loads of Nerf guns embedded in it. I thought, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's expensive. I never thought anything of it. And then when I was making this first jerry can, I thought I need something to hold the bits in place, and that's when I sort of remembered shadow foam. So I brought a bit of that, and then worked out how easy and useful that could be as well. So I've got a tool.
Is it like a Kaiser foam type thing? Isn't it like a tool?
I think it's exactly the same, but this is the UK branded version of it, if that makes sense. So maybe made by the same people. I don't know.
Well, I'm just using that as a generic term. It's that sort of foam that you put into a toolbox, and you can cut out to any shape you wish to insert. Say, if you have some particularly expensive hand chisels, I know some people like to put them into the case, but they do coloured stuff as well, don't they? So if you cut out the black, it shows the red and stuff like that.
So it tends to be black inside with a colour on the top, or the other way around. So I think you can have it both way rounds, and there's numerous different colours. So they do it for example, if you have like DeWalt tools, and they come out in, is it pack out boxes or something like that? Each
pack out's Milwaukee, in it.
Yeah.
DeWalt is the T-Stack, and
I've got the
Tough
pack out.
Stack.
Yeah. So they
I
do.
was looking for foam the other day.
They do cut out specifically for those boxes. So if you've got a particular box that your DeWalt comes in, they already do a pre-cut foam thing that just slots straight in there, and then you can slice your whichever tools going in there. So I use that a fair bit, to be fair.
I mean, I bought some years ago for a couple of my mini sustainers from a company in the UK. It wasn't Shadow Foam, it was another company. And again, I think I've actually got one up there. This is one. This is actually one for a full size sustainer. So like, it's cut, as like you're saying, sort of cut to the correct shape.
Yeah, exactly.
This is just a solid foam, though. It's not as good as the Shadow Foam one. It's just a single sheet. So it's not. It's a little bit harder trying to dig out if you haven't got all the layers. You can just peel out at a time. Because at least that's one thing with the Shadow Foam. It's layers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's layers. So it's centimeter thick layers. So you cut out your bit, and then you just peel back each layer depending on what depth you want to go to.
So do you cut that out with the Dremel when you do the Shadow Foam?
I have tried that actually. No, I use a knife, yeah.
You haven't tried it with a Dremel, so you're sort of affiliated with Dremel and Shadow Foam, and yet you don't use your Dremel to use your Shadow Foam.
Well, you can. So I have done it to cut a perfect circle. So I was making a Dremel logo, and I needed a circle around it. So I have used my Dremel with the circle cutting jig to make a perfect circle. But I wouldn't ever use it to do anything other than straight lines or circles in Shadow Foam, because that's why you have the scalpel. It's easier to use a scalpel. There's no point doing something just because you can. I tend to do it for the easy.
Have you not heard of social media?
Well, yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
So what do? You lay the tool in it and then use a scalpel round the tool to get the
So you basically just start. It's like tracing round. So you basically start by just going really lightly, just so it scores the surface, and then you take the tool away, and then that's when you go deeper.
Okay. It's pretty cool. You can make. I mean, you've got some nice displays. So again, everyone, there will be links to social media below, so you can go and see how Mark's actual, the things that we are talking about here as well.
And if you've got some really cool. It'd be right here behind me.
Yeah, I say it's back to cracking the flags now. I can just see it underneath the blinds. But as we started, I could actually hear the thunder and lightning going off.
Yeah.
Here, so I think it must be coming from you and coming down south.
And, it's still pretty dark out there.
Is it? I wonder which way it's going. But you know what I mean? Because you had it first, and then I seem to get it after. But we've got pretty shit weather forecast for the entire day, I think, here.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But because you've got that really cool blue. You've got a black and blue one, haven't you? On your quite near the top of your page.
Tools,
And it looks really cool. It just looks cool and neat, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
I did it because it looks cool. I did it because I know if something's missing. So if I've got a bit missing, I know, where's that gone? I can look for that, and then it goes back. And it means I can put things back exactly where it's supposed to be every single time, especially when I work in an untidy workshop like me. If I don't put it back, I'll never find it again.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I daren't show you my desk at the minute. Christ, I mean, it looks all. I mean, I know I've got a bit of crap going on behind me here, but honestly, I mean, I'll have to show you. This is my desk at the minute, my workbench. I mean, this is all the stuff that I'm in the middle of working on.
You're mid-project though, aren't you? So
I've actually got 4 different projects going now at the minute.
Where's your big thing? Was you building that big thing? I think
so that's the top part of it there. That's like the upper body part.
Are you printing that on the 3D printer?
Yeah, and that's one of the legs. Or the shin.
How tall is it actually going to be when you're finished?
I actually had it up all up the other day. I did a dry fit because I need to try and work out now how I'm going to pose it and what have you. So it's about 2.5 foot maybe tall.
Wow, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Are you getting much engagement from the Warhammer community about it? No,
it's weird because I thought I would. Obviously, I've also been speaking to Mark's brother Chris, who's the painting phase, isn't he? On YouTube, Instagram, and he's been very helpful with that particular project that I'm doing. And he said the same, what have you, but it seems to be that they're the reels, even though obviously I use relevant hashtags for that community. I'm getting less engagement than what I get on my joinery ones. And I'm quite surprised because even I've put some posts on Facebook, not from a company name, but from a personal point. And they're just like, oh, it's another Warlord Titan. Like, oh, okay.
like people do it all the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, literally, I've got the total running up there. What am I up to now? So I'm up to 415 print hours so far. I've got 2 bits left to print, so maybe another 3 days worth of printing to do on it, and then there's probably going to be about 100 hours of prep work in it, more for the upper body. I've already spent about 40 on the 2 legs, and I've only got 1 leg into black paint. I've now got to start painting it all as well, so it's probably going to be 40 hours of painting. But I can see the whole thing being about 700-800 hours by the time it's finished.
Yeah, it's a big thing you've got into.
What are you going to do when you're done? You're going to sell it?
I'm going to I'm going to try and find a local gaming club where all the kids go to play Warhammer. And I'm going to donate it.
Oh, nice.
Because it's going to be massive because I've got a bunker. I'm making a full diorama out of it. It's going to be up on a piece of board, 3 foot by 2 foot by the time it's done. It's going to be massive. So I haven't got room for it. As cool as it'll be, don't get me wrong. So I thought, well, I may as well go and give it to a local gaming club. I've not found any yet. I'll have to find one. Because, if they can enjoy it and use it, well, by the time it's finished, I've done what I need to do with it. It's done its job for me. Because by the time I've got all the videos out and everything else, and everything else, it's done its job. It's no different to a piece of furniture or a cabinet I make for a tutorial. It's effectively a tutorial of me making a load of mistakes and trying to work out how to do these mistakes. No, the amount of mistakes I've made on it is unreal.
Really?
And then, so I've learned loads about the 3D printing process, and then I learned loads about the Dremel because I tried certain bits and they're not working. Oh, shit. I had it too high speed, so it was burning the plastic. So a good tip that Daryl told me from Olsen was, so with a lot of tools, like especially thing I'm sure Josh does, full power, let's go for it. So with a Dremel, what you do is you start off slow and build up the speed, and that's how you find the optimum speed. So
in 1 second, the dog's scratching at the door. I better let him in 1 minute.
That's all right.
I'm back.
Right. So we sort of said that basically start off. So I started off on like speed 1 or 2, and then I built up the speed, and I actually found that it didn't then just burn the plastic. Obviously, if I'm trying to sand plastic too much, it's just overheating and it burns, and it
just melts it.
It just melts it and goes into a big smudge, which then you've got to try and rectify. But so I've just learned. It's one thing that's been cool. So I've learned a lot about the rotary tool on it. I've learned loads more, even though I've been printing 3D for a long time. The files that I had, some of them were corrupted, so I had to take them into SketchUp. I had to fix them, and then I had to redesign some pieces because the STLs just were that bad that they didn't work, or the they just didn't work. So I had to totally redesign. So that the leg armor, I've totally designed that myself, and then printed it all out. And then, I'm going to put LED lights all the way through it. So that's another thing that I've never done. I've never put LEDs into a project before. So that's why I just like these projects, because it pushes you to learn new things. And that's where the Dremel, I think it's a good tool. I think that.
How have you found the bits I've sent you? Have they been useful in the process?
Really good. Yeah, really good. So the one I particularly like, it looks like a piece of tumbleweed. So it's maybe a centimetre thick.
The abrasive buff, yeah.
Yeah. So that comes in a pack of 2 with different grits. So I think it's the beige one, which I think is the finer one. Yeah. I might be wrong, I don't know. But I seem to find that finds, because obviously I'm printing in PLA plastic. So I find that works really well. I bought one of the cutting discs, the EZ 38mm. That's a brilliant little, it's got a nice thickness to it. Because the ones that came in the kit just snapped. You looked at them and it just pinged. The Dremel one's got a nice sort of it's got a real MIDI grinder feel to it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. The quality of the disc. The sanding drums, they came in quite useful. The flapper wheel, that was cool. I used the flapper wheels. So I've tried probably not quite all the bits, because by the time I tried everything, I found the little tumbleweed thing worked. So
tumbleweed thing.
Yeah, that's the technical name for it.
That's what I'm going to call it from now on, tumbleweed.
Yeah, so see, it's the real name. So Dremel next week, you can't buy 467, 432, whatever they call it, part number. It's now going to rebrand the whole thing, Tumbleweed.
Tumbleweed.
So Dremel can pay me loyalties for that. And
very well.
But yeah, so I just found that worked. But say it's the whole thing about the learning, and it's really opened up my eyes to possibilities. So I've got all these other ideas I want to do now for little reels, as you say, and content.
Yeah,
it'll be another year before I get around to doing them, because I've got a list that long anyway. But I can see there's a real value of a rotary tool in a workshop for sure.
I'm getting one.
Yeah.
I'm sold.
I'm not even trying to sell it.
No. Obviously, again, we'll stick, because Mark does have affiliate links for Shadow Foam and Dremel, so I will leave them in the description also. So anybody that is listening to this can use Mark's links, please, because it does help support our small channels when you use affiliate links, and that's the reason why we have them, obviously.
Keeps you in tea and biscuits.
Yeah, actually, tea and biscuits. That's the other thing you made. You made some little tea boxes, did you not, recently, for Yorkshire tea bags or something?
Yeah. Yeah, so I work for, my proper job is I work at B&Q. Sorry for B&Q haters out there.
Yeah, don't listen to last week's episode, mate. Because me and Jerry were slating them.
I did.
Yeah.
It's for DIYers, not professionals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously orange branding, so it was for something to do with that. So I made some awards. I made a tea box for somebody, and I made a jerry can as well that was orange branded at the time. So yeah, I'm doing some work stuff. I'm a kitchen designer, so it's my fault if you ever had to fit a B&Q kitchen before.
Oh my god! Oh, honestly, the amount of times when back in day when they didn't rip us off as tradesmen now, and you go in and they do a kitchen design, and you look at it and go, okay, that ain't going to fit in that kitchen. I mean, you might be different, but I'll be wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh no, that definitely fits. You're like, okay. The units you got there are 500 longer than the wall, so it ain't going to fit. Yeah. And then they put all the units in. I mean, it's not just B&Q, are this Howlands and other places over the years. Like, so how would you like me to fit that unit in the corner? What do you mean? I can't just make things magically float.
No.
And like they're putting joints in works. Like, what do you, that worktop joint cannot be in the middle of nowhere. So they just don't understand as fitters. Or, I'm going to use the word fitters for fitting a kitchen.
I've said that the designers need to spend a day or a few days out on a job with a fitter, looking at the challenges that you face, like knowing where to put corner joints. They get a lot of training. There's a lot of documentations about rules and things they have to follow. But unless you do it and you see it in action, it's hard to take all that in. Although the software we got now is better because it tells us when we're doing something wrong. So it tells us you can't have a worktop joint there. You can't put your gas hob within 30 centimeters of that wall.
Because the regulations.
Yeah. So the software's improved probably
going to help some people.
Yeah, but still having practical knowledge is. I'm lucky that I've got a bit of DIY practical knowledge, so I've sort of would know some of the challenges. But then I've never fitted a kitchen before. So,
but the biggest thing is using a tape measure. I mean, literally, I shit you not. Right, Howden's did this one fit. I was working for another company. I was subbing out, and I was like, "Nah, you can come out. Howden's can come out. You can come measure it because when it doesn't fit, it's your fault. Your fuck up. You can sort it out. I haven't got time for this." So they started coming out doing all that. And we're doing a big run for HMOs, and he came out, measured it, and then it got delivered. I had 1 day to. It was only a dry fit the kitchen, and it was only really like a bank and a bank. So it was only 2 straight runs. So there's no worktop joints, just a couple of things. There was 2 of us, and I went, "Yeah, it doesn't fit. Get your ass out here." "Oh, it does fit." And he measured it. And he measured it. I went, "Oh, okay." So I said, "You've measured the back edge of the wall there." And he went, "Yeah." I said, "What about when you measure it? Because the walls
not straight.
It was like that, exaggerated. Yeah. It was like a pentagon, but it's not. If it was just a couple of mil out, it was blatantly obvious it wasn't a 90-degree corner. Yeah. And because of that, by the time you put everything in, the fridge gap needed to be 60 centimeters or 600 to be used, and it was something like 54. I'm like, "I'll just make it fit." I'm like, "How would you like me to cut 6 centimeters off a fridge? It's just not going to happen."
I'll make it fit. Yeah,
and it's like. It's just the simple things, and they don't. As you say, I think that they should be taught on site, in the sense of not how to fit the kitchen as a physical, how to put it together, although that wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
But then it'll give you a lot more basis information if you did like a day course.
Yeah, just in
the shop somewhere, and like say, "Look, this is how we're going to do it," and they can actually take 10 of you into a fake setup.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no different to when I've built set building and you're building kitchen units there. You still got to follow so it looks right.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, maybe you should take that to your bosses and tell them that they need to up the game a little bit. Do you know what I
mean? I've suggested it.
They won't listen. They never do.
No. To be fair, they're quite good at taking on board real suggestions if they see a value in it. But it's making sure it gets to the right person is the challenge. Yeah.
Especially in big companies, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's exactly. Hitting the right it's a massively difficult thing.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Josh, or questions?
Where can I get a Dremel?
Well,
Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
Amazon, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's Australian, so he's.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Oh no, they've got Amazon out here. Everything's Amazon out here.
Yeah.
So no one can compete with them. You know, you order something, the next day it's on your doorstep.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And if it's not there, you're annoyed. You're like, "Well, where's my package?"
Yeah. Exactly.
Where are they?
The other week, my son was going on his Duke of Edinburgh expedition on the Monday, and on the Friday, he suddenly decided he wanted these Wayfarer breakfast packs you can make.
Oh, yeah, the MREs.
Yeah, and that was on the Friday night. I thought, well, last minute, order them from Amazon. They'll come the following day. No, they didn't, did they? They were held up.
Oh, no way.
So the wife had to go out to the local camping shop, which is maybe what we could have done anyway, and buy them. When she got home, they were there on the doorstep on the Sunday. When they were a day late.
You can't make that up, though, can you?
No, you can't.
You know, but then the other thing is, if you didn't go out, he wouldn't have had them. He wouldn't have had
them.
No,
exactly. No.
You know what I mean? Right. Okay. Thank you very much to Mark for joining us today. If you have any questions for either Mark, myself, or Josh, you can contact us at the Wooden Work Podcast on Instagram, or likewise, you can contact any of us via our own social media pages. I shall leave links to Mark's Instagram, Linktree, YouTube channel down below.
Thank you.
And also his affiliate links if anybody would like to go and buy any of these Dremel bits or shadow foam. So we're all on all audio platforms and YouTube. Thank you very much, and we shall see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.